Right now, you are sitting somewhere safe. You have food nearby, you are not being chased, you are not starving, you are not watching your children die from a fever that has no cure. By every measurable standard, you are living in the most protected, most comfortable, most medically advanced moment in the entire history of your species. So why does it feel like something is wrong, not a specific thing, not a problem you can name, just a low hum beneath everything, a readiness, a bracing? As if part of you is waiting for the world to fall apart again, here is what science is beginning to understand. That feeling is not a malfunction, it is a memory, and it does not belong to you alone. For most of human history, life was not safe, it was not stable. It was a continuous negotiation with death. Famine, plague, predators, violence from neighboring groups, the brutal randomness of weather, infection, drought. Your ancestors lived through all of it. The ones who survived were not the most relaxed. They were the most vigilant, the most prepared for catastrophe, the ones who could not quite let their guard down even when the threat had passed. And here is the thing about survival. It does not just select for bodies, it selects for nervous systems. For patterns of attention, for ways of sensing the world. The human beings alive today are the direct descendants of the people who worried most, who scanned the horizon longest, who woke in the night and listened. Researcher Bessel van der Kolk spent decades studying how trauma changes the body and the brain. His work, summarized in his landmark study on trauma and the nervous system, revealed something that should change the way you think about yourself. Trauma is not just a psychological event, it is a physiological one. It rewires the way the nervous system processes threat. It makes the alarm louder, the baseline higher, and the body slower to return to calm. Now consider this. Every single human alive today carries a nervous system shaped by thousands of years of unrelenting threat. Not metaphorically, biologically. The stress response your body runs right now, the cortisol, the hypervigilance, the scanning, it was built by ancestors who lived through experiences that would qualify, by clinical definition, as severe ongoing trauma. Anthropologist Barbara J. King, in her research on grief and emotional life in early humans, documented evidence that human communities as far back as 300,000 years cared for their wounded, mourned their dead, and formed deep emotional attachments that, when severed, produced what can only be described as grief. Your ancestors did not just survive physical threats. They grieved. They suffered loss. They watched people they loved die and kept going anyway. And they passed that capacity for grief on to you, not as a story, as a nervous system. Think about what that means. You were not born into a blank, neutral body. You were born into a body shaped by hundreds of thousands of years of exactly this. Danger, loss, recovery, danger again. The baseline your body considers normal was calibrated against a world that no longer exists. A world where threat was constant, where the group was everything, where separation from your community could mean death, where a bad harvest was not a financial setback but the end of everything. And now you live in a world where none of that is true, where food appears in a building 2 minutes from where you sleep, where your survival does not depend on the people immediately around you, where you can be completely alone and still be completely safe. Your brain does not believe any of it. The psychologist Stephen Porges developed what he called the polyvagal theory, a framework for understanding how the human nervous system assesses safety and threat. His research showed that the nervous system is constantly running a process he termed neuroception, a below-conscious scan of the environment for signals of danger. It does not wait for your conscious mind to notice a threat. It decides first. And the default setting of that system, shaped by millennia of genuine danger, is to assume the threat is real until proven otherwise. This is why you check your phone compulsively in a quiet room, why you feel vaguely anxious at a party where you know no one, why rejection from a stranger stings more than logic says it should. Your nervous system is not responding to the situation in front of you. It is responding to a pattern, a deep, ancient, inherited pattern that says separation is dangerous, exclusion means death, the group is everything. That pattern is not a bug, it was not a mistake in the code, it was the code. It kept your ancestors alive long enough to produce you. But here is the counterintuitive truth that researchers in intergenerational trauma have been quietly documenting for years. You may not just be carrying the legacy of ancestral survival. You may be carrying the specific emotional residue of your immediate ancestors' most extreme experiences. The science of epigenetics, the study of how experience changes gene expression, has produced findings that should make you sit with this differently. Rachel Yehuda at the Icahn School of Medicine conducted studies on the children and grandchildren of Holocaust survivors. She found measurable differences in their cortisol profiles, in the way their stress hormones were regulated that mirrored the dysregulation seen in survivors themselves. The children had not lived through the Holocaust, but their bodies carried something that looked biochemically like the body's response to it. The same patterns have been documented in descendants of enslaved people, in communities that survived famine, in populations that lived through war. The body, it turns out, does not only learn from its own experience. It inherits a kind of cellular memory. A pre-calibration for the level of threat the world has historically delivered to people who look like you, live where you live, come from where you come from. What does that mean for you right now sitting in your safe room? It means the anxiety you feel is not irrational. It means the exhaustion that comes from nowhere is not weakness. It means the low hum of wrongness beneath a perfectly fine life is not ingratitude. It is something else entirely. It is the sound of a nervous system that was built for a world that is gone, still running, still scanning, still waiting for the next thing that almost killed your people. The clinical language for what happens when a nervous system gets stuck in that loop is trauma. But apply it at this scale, across all of human history, across the entire species, and something larger comes into focus. Every human alive today is, in some sense, recovering from the same thing, from 100,000 years of life on the edge, from famine and loss and threat and grief and the kind of ongoing stress that modern psychology would recognize immediately as traumatic. This does not make you broken, it makes you descended from survivors. The work of healing, whether that is therapy, connection, rest, safety, community, all of it is not fixing something that went wrong. It is completing something that was interrupted. It is telling a nervous system that has been running on high alert for 100,000 years that the migration is over, that the drought ended, that the predator is gone, that you made it. You are not uniquely damaged. You are not falling apart. You are a member of a species that has survived everything the world has thrown at it, and you carry that history in your body the way a river carries the shape of every stone it has ever moved over. Right now you are sitting somewhere safe. And that feeling beneath everything, that low hum, that waiting, that is not a sign that something is wrong with you. It is the deepest possible proof that your people made it.